Is the bull market on hold until 2025? We're going to have that very important discussion. What are some altcoins that are getting ready to run? The virtuals ecosystem has been on absolute fire. There's still potentially some gems in there that you can make a lot of money on. And what better person to have this conversation with on today's show than our man Forrest, who joins us. He is back on Forrest Friday. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about a little bit about AI. We'll also talk about what Nayib Bukele did with all that IMF money he got. Did he stab him in the back? We'll talk about that. Also, what is happening? What kind of partnership did SHIB just get into? And what does that mean for SHIB and potentially their partner that they partnered with? We'll look at some charts, some metrics, and what to expect as we enter the final week of 2024 and what to expect in 2025. We have that and much, much more on today's episode of Sin City Crypto.
Hola! It's your boy Big Rob back in the house. Welcome to Sin City Crypto. If it's your first time checking us out, we're the entertaining, focused cryptocurrency channel where we take old, boring, and stale information and, well, we package that whole thing up in a fun and sexy way. Bitcoin's down. I saw a flash crash all the way down to $91,000 late last night or early this morning, depends on what time zone you're in. Is this a preview of what's to come?
You know what that means.
Are we going to go back down to 90K? Is 89,000 back on the table?
Well, you know what that means, right?
What's that mean?
That Bitcoin went down to 95. It means our limit order got filled.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
There we go.
95.7, remember?
Oh, yeah. Right.
95.780. We put that order in live on the show yesterday. So we're in the green. And we'll find out whose trade is more profitable, mine or Rob's. Rob went long on Doge. I went long on Solana. We'll look at that in a little bit. But we're happy to have Forrest back on with us today. It is Friday. Forrest, we miss you, man. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. How you been, dude?
Good. Just, going through a move and just been busy.
Where's that beautiful flower painting behind you?
Who knows? I couldn't tell you.
Is it packed? Is it like somewhere in the box?
There we go. Yeah, it's somewhere in a box or somewhere in the garage. I don't know.
Yeah, you'll find it probably.
We'll find it one day.
Yeah, you'll find it like 3-4 months from now. Like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Forrest, what are your thoughts on the markets and what we saw yesterday or a couple days ago, and then really the last 2 days with trading? We saw a lot of liquidations. A lot of people are kind of wondering, what does this mean for the bull market on a macro level? Well, what are your kind of thoughts here? What's transpired?
Yeah, it's a pretty polarizing spot. My base case is that the top of the bull market is not in. I think we do end up going higher at some point in 2025. But at the same time, you've got some like recession indicators firing with the confirmation of the yield curve reinverting, and that's always pretty scary. You also have just a pretty massive day in VIX the other day for the stock market, big sell-off. So I'm kind of torn. I think it's a bit of an irrational sell-off immediately. I think it's heavily been based off of the S&P 500's up like 25%. It went to like a peak of 29% up this year. So when you have like massive profits and, you get a scary news or a scary Fed day, you have a lot of unrealized P&L in the market. So you think you have a lot of fund managers just selling, taking locking in their bonuses, taking the profits, and just looking to reassess in January. So I think a lot of that volatility has been just from people locking down profits into the end of the year.
So Forrest, do you, and I'll kind of share something that kind of proves your point, but do you think, so what are you expecting from next week, right? You have Christmas Eve, Christmas, holidays, people are traveling. Are you expecting low volatility, low volume? Are you expecting people just to shut their phones off and kind of go away for a week and then come back January 1st? Or do you see maybe a ramp up going into 2025 by maybe towards the end of next week?
I think we're in the middle of kind of a little bit of a dead cat bounce. I think we are going to potentially go a little bit higher, and then I do think that there's a good chance that we bleed into January. My base case, though, is that for most strong charts, most strong assets that the lows are in. So you've got stuff like Virtual Protocol, Hyperliquid, XRP, like some of these things that have been pretty strong. I think most of those charts have set their lows. And we're going to get we've already gotten a pretty strong bounce as of today. And I think we get some continuation on this bounce and then just some slow bleed into the new year, into a higher low. That's my base case. I could be wrong. That's speculating. Very difficult to analyze like the short-term volatile price action. But I do think that the lows are set for some of the stronger assets and that we probably bounce here, can get some continuation on this bounce, but then ultimately bleed back down towards higher lows.
Okay. I'm going to ask Rob his opinion, but I'm looking at a comment from Kuzukan. Said, Rob looks like he took his grandpa's handkerchiefs and made a shirt out of them. Forrest, any commentary on Rob's choice of shirt today?
I can't even out there. I think it's stylish. I like it. I think you're a well-dressed man.
Wow, thanks for that, Forrest. Thanks. Now I gotta hear it all freaking day.
My purchase?
Yeah.
Well, we do have a lady in house, so ladies have more fashion sense than most men do. And so, Ashley, do you agree with Kuzukan said grandpa's handkerchief?
I'm the one that started this conversation. His shirt's awful.
Awful.
What's wrong with my shirt? The market's down. I'm trying to just bring some festive spirit.
Festive spirit
into
Wow.
crypto, into
so
Bitcoin.
festive.
Yeah, that's right.
If you would have just unbuttoned one more button the other day, we wouldn't have had this market sell off. Okay, so Forrest kind of gave his theory of end of this year, right? What are you expecting next week moving into 2025?
I would be surprised to see Bitcoin take off. I'll just put it that way.
When you say take off, do you mean over
I mean
100K,
over 110,000. Up in that, making new all-time highs. Put it that way.
Let me ask you this question.
I wouldn't be surprised. I do think that Bitcoin within the next 10 days rebounds back up to 100K, but I don't think we set new all-time highs. I don't think we get it up to that 106, 107, 108. I don't think we get there. Not at the current time in the year. Christmas is here. People are on vacation, and so yeah, I mean that's just my opinion. But I think that the fair market value of Bitcoin, I think people just see it as a really good buying opportunity at its current price, and so I do think that price will jump back up to 100K.
Forrest mentioned these fund managers taking their wins for their bonuses. Here you go. Bitcoin saw $671 million of outflows yesterday. This was I think the largest day of outflows we've ever had. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. BlackRock still got a 0. Surprising. So the large portion of this sell-off came from Fidelity's product, 208 million. ARK lost 108 million. Grayscale another 87.9 million. And BTC, which one's this one? Oh, they're mini one, right? The mini, yeah. Minus one.
No, I think what we're seeing is people are realizing gains for taxes. I don't know, we kind of talked about it yesterday, but I think institutions and big money, if you bought Bitcoin at 40,000 and you don't want to carry the taxes over to next year, you just want to go ahead and pay taxes on those now for whatever reason. I think that's part of what we're seeing, right?
Forrest, any commentary on the outflows here? I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
Yeah, this is just risk getting cut by fund managers and people in general off of just this pretty spooked traditional finance market. VIX, that was the second highest daily VIX candle of all time. So not in terms of overall height and VIX level, but in terms of daily gain. So you think about all the Black Swan events ever, that was the second highest daily gain of VIX. So VIX volatility is basically, think of it as a measure of fear.
Yeah.
Super, super fearful day earlier this week. So yeah,
Forrest,
I think,
Forrest, wasn't the worst day? Wasn't that during the what was the name of that company that went under? Lehman Brothers. Wasn't the worst VIX?
I don't know what number one was, but I did read that earlier this week was number two in terms of, which is wild to think of all the
Right.
recessions and, you talk about wars breaking out and all the things that spark fear, in the market. You talk about the Great Depression, like VIX, the second largest daily gain was earlier this week. And that's why I do lean a little bit more towards the lows being in. As long as things don't progressively get worse, I do think a little bit of this sell-off was irrational in the sense that I don't necessarily think it was so much based on fear of news. I think there's a lot of people saying like, oh, we're up a ton this year. Let's take our profits before the end of the year, lock in a great year, and then reassess on January. I don't think it's necessarily extreme fear that we're in for total economic collapse soon.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I mean, I mentioned taxes, but there's also so many more factors that go into institutions buying Bitcoin and then having a full calendar year. Remember when the ETFs went live, it was at $40,000. So, I mean, you have some companies up 2.5x on their position. And so is it in their best interest to carry those gains over to next year, or is it in their best interest to realize gains now? And so I think that's a factor for what we're seeing from traditional finance. The degens, the everyday person, people with the 40-hour work week jobs probably don't care so much on realizing profits, but different game here now that we have ETFs.
Yeah, I was just trying to find what the largest day was. I'm seeing 2018 was another large day, but yeah, when we look at fear and greed, the stock market is the VIX. Before said it's funny because it all came from one person, right? Everyone was expecting 4 to 5 rate cuts in 2025. Jerome Powell comes in and shits on everyone, right? Says, yeah, we're only going to get one. Everyone panic sells, markets go down, and here we go. I think this kind of throws a wrench in it as well. My thing has always been, you look at all the money in the money market funds, you're looking at $6-7 trillion, that if the Fed was going to continue to cut those rates, it's no longer beneficial to leave money there. You want to put it more into risk on assets. That might change. We might see more of that money. So who knows what 2025 is going to look like, but it'll be interesting nonetheless. Let's talk about this piece of news today. So Bitcoin Archive reports SEC Commissioner Hester Peirce suggests that Bitcoin spot ETFs may have in-kind redemptions in 2025. What does this mean? This means that if you want to sell your Bitcoin ETF holding, you now have the option of either selling it for cash or selling it and asking for your Bitcoin. So, Forrest, Rob has mentioned that this is not something the ETF issuers want anymore because obviously if they put the money in and then remove the Bitcoin, you're now taking that money out of their kind of flywheel, right? Their bucket of money that they used to invest in, and it's not something that they're going to want or have to refile.
They're not getting fees. If I buy 10 Bitcoin through an ETF and then I remove it and put it in a cold storage, I'm no longer paying fees. And so BlackRock or whoever it is, the issuer of the ETF, has just lost out on annual percentage. So I know that this is something that Hester Peirce is expecting, but I still think that with the weight that BlackRock has, the amount of money and profits they're making off of this ETF, I find it hard to believe they would let that go and let people custody their own crypto, even though I think that's the right move. I just don't see BlackRock doing it.
What if BlackRock simultaneously launches their own custody? That might work.
Maybe.
Forrest, what are any thoughts here, my friend? This is something that a lot of the Bitcoiners wanted for obvious reasons. But what are your thoughts here? And do you kind of side with Robin, or do you have another take?
I mean, having a self-custody option is great, but overall, in terms of this, like, I don't think it moves the price of Bitcoin significantly. I guess it's net beneficial because you have people like that can just, I don't know, if you're like that into self-custody, you're probably have already bought on Coinbase and moved it to self-custody. Like if you're buying the ETF, like I guess it gives you the option to like, it makes the money going into Bitcoin a little stickier. It makes it so they actually have to like you have to have the Bitcoin redeemed. So it does like affect maybe total supply maybe, but I just don't foresee this being like a massive thing that's going to like move the needle on Bitcoin in a massive way. I think it's good. It's probably net bullish, but only a tiny bit. I don't think it's going to like move the price of Bitcoin from like 100K to 150 or anything like that. But yeah, it's probably the right thing to do.
I mean, it's an option, right? Giving people the option. Hey, just like calls or puts, right? It's like, do you want to just sell it, or are you when you receive those stocks, right? Are you going to turn around and sell them, or are you going to keep them? Some people choose to keep them when their options expire. So having that option for the Bitcoin ETFs, I think, is a good thing as well. Forrest, did you see the did you see the co-founder of Aptos?
Yeah, I think he called it quits.
This doesn't make sense. I mean, I don't know, dude. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but we're in a bull market. It's your first cycle for Aptos, and you founded the project, and then you decide to leave at this time. And then someone posted this, which I thought was kind of interesting. Did the founder of Aptos really just quit after his vesting ended? What are your thoughts here, Forrest? And if you were bullish on Aptos, does this make you less bullish on Aptos?
I wasn't particularly bullish on Aptos, or a lot of like these alt L1s. But if I was an Aptos, would this make me sell? Probably not. I don't know. You really never know what's going on in somebody's life. The guy might have like personal things going on in his life that makes him need to step down. So without like knowing specifically why, like if he's just like cashing in and say, I'm tired of whatever, I'm tired of this, I made a bunch of money, I'm going to sell and like cash out. That's pretty lame. That's not cool. And that'd be a little bit more bearish, but if he's got personal issues, if you've got health issues, family issues, then, at some point you've got to put that above, your career. But yeah, I don't know why he stepped down. I'm sure more will come out about it in the future, but I don't necessarily think it's like super bearish for Aptos.
I mean, according to Mo, right, the guy who stepped down, in his post, he said, over the coming months, I plan to take some much needed time to reflect on where the world is headed and to think deeply about the ways financial systems can evolve to continue to push Aptos as the most established layer one in the space. I don't know what that means, dude. I think if, maybe I'm reading too much into this, but I think if someone really had issues with what you're saying, which obviously I agree with, it would be like, hey, I've been going through some shit lately, I need to step away. But I don't know. It's just weird. It definitely makes me a little less bullish on the project. So, yeah, it is what it is. Forrest, I want to take, if we can take a quick peek at a Bitcoin chart, and then I'm going to come back and we'll get into the virtual ecosystem, and then we'll go back to some altcoins. But we put in a limit order on BTC, and our fill came in at 95,780, which I saw was a pretty good bottom, which obviously has rang true so far. But what are you seeing on the Bitcoin chart? What are some things on the chart that are telling you, that are making you confident that we did hit that local bottom?
Yeah. So, I mean, like we could certainly go lower. Like we could come all the way down to, in my opinion, 73K without ringing any alarm bells. It would destroy altcoins. But in terms of like market structure for Bitcoin, we could, fully round trip this down to 73K, retest the prior all-time high, and still have a pretty bullish chart with a big higher low. And that's what makes these spots so polarizing. While everything's looking so bullish up at 108K, you do have that potential to come down lower. But as of right now, I mean, this is still setting a overall higher low where we're at right now. This is you call it an accumulation funnel, a megaphone, upward tilting megaphone. We had one of these last year. It actually looks very similar in nature. And it looks like we did just come back down to the bottom. If this bottom is indeed set, and we're getting a very strong daily candle here, we're getting so far, I think we're about to cross into green territory. We already have. So if nothing else, we see that there is demand for Bitcoin under 95K, under 95, 96K, and that demand has come in aggressively multiple times. I personally think this is market makers filling their bags. I don't necessarily think this is like a super organic bid. And when market makers come down here and they fill their bags, they do tend to turn around and sell it towards the top of the range. So, I kind of agree with what Robin was saying, where I could foresee us coming back up to 100, 102K, back above 102K before the end of the year, and potentially selling back off if there's no kind of organic bid to take this off the market maker's hands. Not a lot to say on Bitcoin, to be honest. I do think it's entirely possible for some of these deeper levels to be tested if things do get ugly, especially in the TradFi markets. That would be the level that I'd be most at. 77 to 80 would be like the level that I would say, okay, there's a very strong chance you get a huge bounce from there, and where you'd probably want to bid pretty aggressively. Below 73K, I think you have to. I think it's terrible. Something bad's happened. Black Swan event. Bitcoin's probably going significantly lower. Michael Saylor's probably getting liquidated. We got big problems if we are going below our prior all-time high. I don't see that being the case at all. I actually think that this is going to continue to range here, and potentially resolve higher in the new year, especially as we get closer to being able to price in higher confidence of a Bitcoin strategic reserve, which I think will continue to move into a higher confidence level as Trump takes office.
Yeah, Forrest, with this dump we saw, was there a chart that really stood out to you that you, I don't know, maybe put a trade in on or entered into a position or added to your bag?
XRP, I think, is the best asset, best large cap major asset at the moment. I mean, XRP is just sitting in this huge bull pennant. It made a double bottom. This looks very similar to what it did before it ran. Let's see, 128%. If you just throw on like a measured move target, this is a bull pennant. The target's $5. I mean, hasn't broken out yet, but if it does, if it takes out 260, 250, 260, 270, I'm targeting $5. If you look at XRP versus Bitcoin, like alts have just gotten crushed against Bitcoin. Like it's been horrendous. It's been really, really bad. If you look at XRP versus Bitcoin, it's just in this huge bull pennant. And even despite this latest crash, I mean, it's just been stable for the last 10 days or so. It's gone down and kind of made this, made this like inverse head and shoulders within this bull pennant. And the target on this bull pennant is 100% higher against Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin goes higher from here, you're looking to do potentially 100% on top of Bitcoin. I'm very bullish XRP, have been bullish XRP, and I think the chart is proving that it's holding itself up against Bitcoin. We can also look at XRP versus Solana. Solana has been the consensus trade. Solana has been what everyone thought would dominate this cycle. This is a bullish pattern against Solana as well. So XRP outperforming Solana. I think XRP is like last year, Solana was the top performing asset of the year. I think as far as large caps go, I think XRP is going to continue to lead the charge and be the top performing asset of this year.
Really? So you'd rather hold XRP over Solana in 2025?
Oh, 100%. I mean, the chart, so the XRP versus Solana chart, Solana's getting, destroyed here by XRP. This was the election. Since the election, if you're in Solana versus XRP, you've lost 333% versus XRP, right? Like XRP's outperformed Solana 330. It's pressing, yearly highs. It's pressing that big blow off that we made up to like $2.90 was up here. We're not far away against Solana, 7% against, until we make that high again. And this is just nicely trending upwards. I don't foresee this trend reversing anytime soon. I actually am like borderline bearish on Solana. I think it's like one of the worst looking charts, and one of the worst, asset ecosystems right now. I think it's getting crushed by Pump Fund. I think it's Pump Fund's been super extractive. I think meme coins, which are the backbone of the Solana ecosystem lately, are getting destroyed by AI. Now, AI on Solana has been strong, like AI 16Z, Zerobro, and some other AI plays on Solana have done well. But Solana and the Solana meme coin thesis was the only game in town for like, it was the consensus trade up until the election. And then the election shook things up and made like the rest of crypto super bullish. So you have like all this capital, all this crowded capital in the Solana ecosystem that's like, I can get better gains in XRP. I can get better gains in AI. I can get better at the bridging to base. Sui has done super well. A lot of money is leaving Solana and moving to Sui. So you have this concentrated, overcrowded trade where everyone was consensus on Solana being bullish, and now there's all these other options and bullish things out there that people are moving to. Hyperliquid, money leaving Solana for Hyperliquid. So there's all this capital flowing out of what was the consensus trade into these other trades they're phenomenal. Look at Virtual Protocol. Virtual Protocol super, super strong today, while Solana's down 0.73%. Virtual Protocol is bouncing back 18%. So I think there's just so many better options than Sol right now that Solana is particularly weak. Now, I'm not necessarily actually think I'll go to a Solana chart. The risk of Solana re-entering this range that we spent the most of the year in is, this is terrifying. If Solana gets acceptance down below 190 or so and re-enters this range, whenever you re-enter a range, you're extraordinarily likely to go and tag the opposite end of the range, right? So that every time we wicked below here, once we re-entered, we ended up back towards the top of the range. If we don't hold this back test on Solana here, which again my base case is that the lows are in and that Solana does go up from here. I think this was a nice clean back test. And I think we've got this expanding volatility. And I am bullish on Solana overall here. And I do think that this ends up resolving upwards. But this is a very polarized position for Solana. And if it drops any lower and closes candles down here, I get pretty bearish. And I think 90 to 120 Solana is on the table. And that's the case where Bitcoin goes down to 80K. Bitcoin goes down to 80K. I think Solana is going to capitulate and go back down to 90, 95 bucks.
Wow.
Which is, people think it can't happen, but I promise you it can. We see 60% corrections all the time in bull markets. Last cycle, we had a 60% correction in Solana. So I think Solana is just a very difficult buy right now over some of the other stuff that's just running super hot and just is showing more strength.
Boris, I got a feeling, I want to ask you a question, but I got a feeling I know your answer. So I'm going to put a caveat in there, okay? If you had to pick one cryptocurrency that you would hold over XRP, I know your answer would probably be XRP, but if I backed you into a corner and you had to pick one, which one would you pick?
XLM. I've got a big XLM bag too.
Ooh.
I mean, I think Virtual Protocol is great and all. And I do hold a ton of Virtual Protocol. So it'd probably be allocating towards AI on base through Virtual Protocol. But if you look at, I'm super bullish on XRP, right? You look at what runs pretty hot with XRP when XRP pumps, it's XLM. So XLM had this huge move against XRP, and then it's bled. XRP's been kicking its butt. But it has bled all the way down to historical support. And I actually think that there's a decent chance we get a decent bounce on XLM versus XRP. So for anyone looking at, this is XRP, right? XLM versus XRP, right? So if this is going up, that means XLM is going up more than XRP. This is going down, this means that XRP is going up more than XLM. So if we zoom out to the weekly here, you can see historically, you want down here, if you're bullish on XRP, you actually want to be buying XLM down here to outperform XRP on a pump towards the top of the range. So you have a potential situation here where you're getting, 300% on top of whatever XRP does if XLM runs back to the top of the range. I also have a thesis that maybe XLM will be used for X payments. Which is, kind of a bold thesis, but, not that crazy. And you also have just this huge weekly pattern on XLM. So this is the XLM versus US dollar chart. This is just a huge move. If this breaks out, huge measured move. XRP's already kind of broken out from its massive weekly pattern. So this was XRP's. We've broken out. And since we broke out, we've moved 127% outside of that pattern. You go to XLMs, we haven't even broken out yet. Now, it's entirely possible that XLM does return back to the midpoint or, goes down to 20 cents. But if we're actually in a bull market and XRP is going to run to $5 plus and XLM is going to tag along for the ride, an XLM breakout here, the measured move on a pattern like this is pretty significant. I mean, you're talking, you know, on a logarithmic scale, something ridiculous. But I think this could do, you know, $3-4 off of a pattern like this, and it not be that crazy.
Oh wow. You know, I added I bought a lot of XLM at like 8.5, 9 cents. I was looking at like I do research every day, and I'm like XLM is, they got payments, the RWA, no one really talks about. And I was like, this thing is at 9 cents. And then literally like a week later, the thing rallied to 62, 63 cents. And since then it has you showed on the chart, it has bled off. But I'm pretty bullish on XRP. Before us, let me bring Rob in here. Rob, you got any comments on what he's talking about?
Trying to figure out. I know you're bullish on Avalanche. Why'd you leave Avalanche out? I've been eyeballing the Avalanche chart, and a lot of it has to come off of the fact that there is a sleeping giant in its catalog, or at least in its verticals, which is its most prominent one, which is the gaming sector, Off the Grid, which is a very, very popular cross-platform multiplayer battle royale extraction game. Basically checks every single box you would want for gaming. It's AAA graphics. It has a ton of investment. There's big price pools for streamers. And their marketplace, all their skins, all their guns, all of the drops that you get in game are all NFTs that are going to equate to transactions on the Avalanche blockchain. The game's marketplace hasn't went live for transactions yet. The marketplace is, the mechanics are there. You can still acquire skins, but they're about to turn this feature on, and we're about to see transactions go through the roof. And I would expect other blockchains to do so as well, or at least to follow in the footsteps of Off the Grid's, blueprint as far as their business model. And I don't know. Also, you have other narratives outside of gaming with Avalanche. And so from the fundamentals perspective, I just think that Avalanche is grossly undervalued. Looking at the chart, it did sell off quite heavily, right? As of recently, I think it's down more than most of the other layer ones in the top 20. And so for me, I just look at this as a big opportunity. I think for myself personally, I've been looking for a good entry point, and I just feel like there's a good value there. And my base case is all off of the fundamentals for Avalanche. I know you've talked about Avalanche before in the past, Forrest. What do you think about Avalanche as far as an entry point here on its current price under $40? We did see it over $60 earlier this year. It was just over $50 2 days ago. What is the Avalanche looking like?
Yeah, Avalanche looks good in my opinion. So this is Avalanche versus Bitcoin. So it's like, if you can't outperform Bitcoin, why be in anything? But I actually think that this looks great against Bitcoin. So we've got this kind of downtrend on Avalanche versus Bitcoin. We held resistance on its latest top, right? But now we've come back down, and on the weekly, we're trying to set a higher low. We've got like this nice expanding pattern starting to move up. If you want the safe entry on Avalanche, there's safer entry is you're going to want to look for this to get kind of above these prior resistance levels, move back up a little bit against Bitcoin. And then there's your alt season pump of Avalanche right there. So from where it's at right now, you potentially get up to just range highs. Now it has gone higher before, but there's been pretty big resistance at around this level against Bitcoin. You're looking at like 170% on top of Bitcoin from where we're at right now. Now, in the meantime, while this market shakes out here, maybe we go and revisit this support level. But the risk reward on Avalanche versus Bitcoin right now, we just kind of do a little trade setup, risk reward. You keep your stop loss down there. I mean, you're at kind of like 7-1 to range highs. So again, I think you can wait if you're just wanting to be very patient and you're kind of skittish in this market and you want to let Avalanche come back up against Bitcoin and actually break out against this trend line. Alternatively, I don't think it's the worst idea to buy Avalanche down towards these range lows. Is there potential for, some sort of catastrophic black swan event or sure. But everything right here looks, in my opinion, pretty decent in terms of risk reward on AVAX. I actually think that we're getting nearer and nearer a large alt season. And just we're zoom into the 4 hour here. We come out like this. Whoops. I I mean, you're getting a pretty steep discount compared to what you were looking at the other day. We've come back down to set another higher low on this trend line against Bitcoin. Expanding volatility is generally what you want to see, and then buy the bottom of this range. So, actually, like I said, like I think the lows are in on a lot of altcoin charts here, both against Bitcoin and against the US dollar. But the AVAX Bitcoin chart, I think, is a very reasonable buy here. I really do. And then you can always just cut if it makes a new low and breaks that trend. But yeah, this looks like a solid entry to me.
Forrest, I'm going through my text messages because I recall you texting me. This was probably 6-7 months ago, and you said you were talking about Virtuals Protocol, right? And I don't know what the price was, but you're like, hey, Virtuals Protocol, it's this AI platform. And I was like, oh, this looks cool. I looked into it, didn't really throw any money in. And then I got to like 25, 30 cents and started putting some money in. That thing is on just, I mean, this is on fire. I mean, look at the 24-hour here on Virtuals. You're looking at up 20% on the 24-hour, 5% on the 1 hour. You look at some of their ecosystem tokens. Another one that you put on my radar was this one, was Sequoia. That's up 100% in a day. It's 2x. One that I got into, and you probably told me about this one too. I don't know, but this is one I got in very early, AIXBT. I got into this thing around 6-7 cents, and it's at 31 cents right now. That entire ecosystem is just crushing it. You have a lot of this AI narrative playing now. You had this here, posted by Nader Dabbit. New video, building an AI agent with your own personality with AI16Z DAO. 0 to live in 10 minutes. Export your personality from X, PDFs, videos, markdowns, or images. Automatically posts and replies to other posts. You also have a couple posts I want to share, then we'll kind of get into this conversation. But this was posted by Small Cap Scientist. The first Vader investment DAO raised $100K in under 60 seconds. As these DAOs grow, they will become a giant liquidity injection into the virtuals market. I mean, look at this, Forrest. They raised 50,000 virtual tokens in 30 seconds. In 30 seconds. And then you have this one as well. Sequoia is starting to send after announcing Taucat and Jeff investments yesterday. It talks about, how this is one of his most highest conviction plays, being that they're a top tier team, with a resume, and what they're doing is very unique. Where do you stand with this ecosystem and maybe AI agents as a whole? I saw a post from, I think it was Kyle from Three Arrows Capital, talking about he thinks the whole AI agent narrative is starting to die off, or it's going to die off because there's really not much new things happening, right? There's no breakthroughs. I disagree with him. Where do you land?
Yeah. So look, in a bull market, like last cycle, we had this little gaming narrative. We had an NFT narrative. We had a little bit of a meme coin narrative. But look at something like Axie Infinity. Axie Infinity was just a blockchain game, just one game. Went to 10 billion market cap. And that wasn't fully diluted valuation. Now, like 99% of the tokens are circulating for Virtuals Protocol. I want to say that was like closer to a 15 billion market cap, or maybe it was like 30 or 40 fully diluted for Axie Infinity at its peak. Yeah, so it's at $6 now. It was at 100. Yeah, I think it's closer to like $20+ billion fully diluted valuation from one game.
Crazy, dude.
AI is way bigger than gaming. Way bigger than gaming. Way bigger than gaming was last cycle. AI is massive. I think it is the single biggest narrative. Like, I think there's two narratives that are going to redefine this decade. It's AI and robotics. I don't think we're there yet on robotics. I think there will be opportunities there later on, but I think it's AI right now. And I think AI is so much bigger than anything we've ever seen in the past. So when you talk about one single game getting to a $10 to $20 billion fully diluted valuation, and then you've got Virtuals Protocol, which is the infrastructure and platform and protocol for building AI agents, and it's at 2.69 billion fully diluted, and all of the tokens are distributed. You're talking about like 10 to 20 billion at a peak bull market value is like, I think, conservative. Now that's making a massive assumption that we get a bull market like we did last cycle. That's making an assumption that the top is not in for crypto this cycle. That is making an assumption that more and more speculative capital is going to flow into this market. It's making an assumption that we don't go into a recession here in the next 6 to 12 months. But if we get anything like we got last cycle, we saw some of these protocols games go to 10 billion plus. I mean, at 2.7 billion, it still feels cheap, to be quite honest. Now, that's not financial advice. I hold a big virtual protocol bag. I've held since 12 million market cap, like done well on it.
Yeah,
but
you got in super
I
early,
still
dude.
think that AI is just the single biggest narrative that crypto will, and really maybe the world will see for a very, very long time. I think AI is just
Did you
like
say,
massive.
Forrest, did you say you got in at a $12 million market cap?
Yeah, we posted in the Sistine Research Discord 12 million market cap, and then it went to, like, by the time we were able to get the research report out on it, like the I think it was like a 15-20 page research report on it. I think it had gone to like a 40 or 50 million market cap. But our initial post on it, like, hey, we like virtual protocol, was at 12 million market cap.
Dude, you're a machine, bro. You are an absolute machine. You've had so many 100Xs. I'm going to tell you guys right now, this man right here, I don't know how he does it, but this dude gets ahead of trends, right? Me and him talk all the time, and he puts stuff on my radar. I think I put a couple stuff on his radar, but obviously everyone misses, but I feel like you just don't miss, dude. And so if you're not in his Discord, man, I am shilling this thing. Go join it. It's $50 and you'll make that money back. I mean, like, I don't know, like tomorrow, yesterday.
Links in the description too. So
yeah.
we make it easy for you.
Yeah. I mean, he got me my first 100X on that Trump coin. That was my first 100X. He put virtuals on my map. Now I got in a lot later than him. I got in at a 30 cents. He got in at 12 million market cap, guys. I mean, we're talking about a 200X. A 200X. And so shout out to you, Forrest, man, because you've been crushing it. Now I'm curious, Forrest. We look at the virtuals website, right? And some people are saying, all right, cool. You sold me on virtuals. I believe in the narrative is going to be big. 2.7 billion. I want to get in something a little earlier, right? You look at things we've talked about. We've talked about Luna. That's at an 83 million market cap. We talked about AIXBT. That's at 300 million market cap. Sequoia. And some of these are still early. Like, I think 40 million is still early. I think 83 million on Luna is still early. But if someone's looking for that sub 10 million market cap, is there one of these virtual plays for us that you're maybe bullish on, that you can maybe share some alpha with the people watching?
I like game even at 100 plus. Now full disclosure, like I do own like most of these tokens. I like
on the screen.
Like
how many of the tokens do you own on this screen right here? All of them?
I've got to pull it up on my end just because yours is blurry for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know, like 7 or 8. I own a lot of them. I bought like a lot of them as this protocol was launching. I would say there is a very interesting one that I'm not like. I think it's being underappreciated versus like the developer that is building it and what he's built, and that's Masato at 2 million.
I have a lot of
Masato.
Now,
yeah. So this dev is very legitimate and like a very good AI dev, and he's built like, the ability to like talk to this AI agent and mint NFTs. He's hooked up this AI agent to like image generation. It's very interesting. Now, I don't think he's found product market fit yet, and that's why I think it hasn't taken off and it's been underappreciated. But I think he's got this skill set over a lot of the other teams and developers of these agents that if he keeps plugging away at it, he'll eventually, like, there's a decent chance he eventually finds product market fit. And if he does, it's like 2 million market cap and who knows what it could go to. So as far as like low cap ones that like I think are a bit more of a gamble, right? A bit more of a gamble. I think this is an interesting one. And then as far as like mid cap, I really think game is the most interesting because game and convo, but game is the framework that all like is used for all of these AI agents to talk to each other, work with each other, and it's just kind of like this underlying framework that allows a lot of these agents to work. And most of the agents use it, if not all of them, if I'm not mistaken. And there's potential, I believe, for some sort of revenue generation / revenue sharing through the game token later on. So I think that's been getting a really strong amount of speculation recently. So it's kind of the backbone of the whole like Virtuals protocol AI infrastructure is game and convo. And yeah, I mean, if you think Virtuals protocol is still early, which I think it is, could be wrong, but I think it is, then I think those are pretty solid tokens.
Amen. I'm going to give you mine. I have one that's sitting a sub 3. So I put this in our Discord yesterday. I think when I dropped this in the Discord, it was at like a 1.6 or 1.7. It's currently sitting at 2.7. It's DGen Capital, DGen C. Now there's two of them. You want to go to the one, if you are going to look into this one, pick the one that has the higher market cap. This one's at 2.7 million. Again, I shared this in our Discord yesterday, but this is kind of like AI XBT, but on steroids. I think AI XBT, it's sitting at 300 million. So if you want kind of like the brother pick, the little brother pick of AI XBT, I think DGen Capital is a good one. But there's so many good ones in this ecosystem, and what's beautiful about this is the way it's all set up with the bonding curve, and the liquidity gets burned. And so I know a lot of people, speaking of getting burned, a lot of people have gotten burned on rug pulls. It's really not possible here, right? Unless the dev mints 95% of the tokens, it hits the bonding curve, and then they sell it all, which obviously can happen, but that's easy to look. You can just go on the Virtuals app protocol website, and you can take a look at their wallets and see how much the developer, the person who created this AI agent, how much of the supply they hold. And if it's over an amount that you're not comfortable with, you can just simply not buy it. But there's a lot of big plays in this ecosystem, and I still think have a lot of ways to go. And the beauty of it is, if you don't have the time or you don't want to go down the risk curve, and you're like, let me just get exposure to the one that covers all of them, just buy and sit on Virtuals. Because I agree with Forrest. I think 10 to 20 billion. And I've talked about AI being the largest narrative, like you, Forrest. Part of the reason is it's such a new burgeoning technology that we're going to consistently see headlines like NVIDIA just came out with their supercomputer chip, right? Apple Intelligence just rolled out. And so this is something that is consistently making headline news that is driving FOMO into the space. And when you look at AI and you click on those AI categories, you're going to see projects like Virtuals Protocol at the top of that list. And again, even at a $2, $3, $4, $5 billion market cap, if AI takes off, like I think all of us in this room agree that it will, of course, nothing's guaranteed, but like 10 to 20, maybe 30, $40 billion market cap for something like Virtuals Protocol, which is still at 10 to 15x, I think is good. I mean, you shoot for the star, land on the moon, right? That's what the saying is. And so that's just a little bit of alpha for you guys. And again, I highly recommend, there's very few things that I sit here and tell you to do with confidence. One of them is go join his Discord. I'm telling you, it's worth every single penny. Every single penny, do it. You're going to make a lot of money. This man knows what he's doing. So man, Forrest, shout out to you. I want to talk a little bit about this piece of news here. And so, you know what? Before I talk about the news, I want to give a thank you to our sponsor today. This show is brought to you by CAMS Blue Wire Technology. If you want to learn how CAMS can help your business scale and grow in the land of networking, IT, and cybersecurity, visit bluewiretech.com or click the link in the description of today's video. With that being said, let's hop on here. SEC simultaneously approves the Hashdex Franklin's Bitcoin Ether ETFs. Now, this is the combined Bitcoin ETH. They'll hold both spot Bitcoin and spot Ethereum. And so, Rob, any thoughts on this, man? Do you think this is, I mean, I don't know. It's a pretty straightforward thing. You got any?
Yeah. It's going to be
it was coming.
A small product. I mean, I think it's get the money where you can. It's going to dwarf comparison to the big boys, obviously, but it's a product tailored for certain individuals. But I think it's also signals the overarching kind of narrative here that, crypto ETFs are no longer this weird taboo thing. And hey, it's pretty obvious 2025 is going to be the year of the ETFs when it comes to altcoins. I think that basically we're going to have exposure to traditional finance and their ability to invest in crypto outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum into, well, a list of products. Which ones won't make the list is going to be the bigger narrative out of the top cryptos. We're already kind of expecting HBAR, XRP, Solana, a handful of others. Those are kind of like already just expected, right? Nobody's really expecting those to get denied at this point, especially with the change of SEC chair. But which ones are not going to get approved, right? Which ones are not going to make the list? That's what I'm more curious about. I'm really excited to see. I think Doge is going to be in there.
I heard
well.
Hex is getting an ETF.
Yeah, come on. And so, why do you keep bringing up Hex? That's like 2 cycles ago, bro.
Someone hit me up. Someone on X was trying to pitch me on Hex. He's like, I'd love to go out to like lunch, man, and talk about it. I'm like, yeah.
Why?
For sure.
That Hex is 2021. And so it's something that was
bumping, dude. It's bumping.
No, it's not.
It was, but
no.
All right, let's move on to this. I mentioned Nayib Bukele. Did he betray the IMF? There was a lot of speculation, a lot of kind of pushback on him accepting the $1.4 billion from the IMF because historically the IMF has been anti-Bitcoin, anti-crypto, and one of their criteria for even lending you money is to not do what El Salvador did, is make legal tender. Well, what did El Salvador do? Nayib Bukele said, you know what? We'll take your 1.5 bill and we'll turn it and we'll take $1 million of that and buy Bitcoin. As you can see here, El Salvador recently added $1 million in Bitcoin to its strategic Bitcoin reserve just one day after finalizing their $1.4 billion financing agreement with the IMF. Forrest, when I said this before the stream, what was your answer?
They only bought 1 million Bitcoin.
He said that's
$1 million worth of Bitcoin.
Man. I don't know. What are your thoughts here, Forrest? Do you think this is maybe the IMF, easing up on Bitcoin, or do you take anything from this headline here?
I think the main thing with El Salvador is a case study in people's resistance to use Bitcoin for day-to-day transactions. I think this is a little bit of, and this isn't me coming across as being anti-Bitcoin. I'm bullish on Bitcoin. I have my gripes with Bitcoin, but I think there's 2 sides of the story on it. I think there's people that are just insanely delusional on the future of Bitcoin. And I think there's people that are reasonable about it. I think Bitcoin is better as, the digital gold narrative. I don't think that Bitcoin should be used for day-to-day transactions. At least I don't think we're there yet. Maybe eventually one day we get there. But things being priced in Bitcoin and people spending their Bitcoin on an app and sending each other, I just think it's people don't do that with gold. People don't use gold coins anymore to transact with. I just think it's very cumbersome to use an app with Bitcoin. It's cumbersome to price things in Bitcoin. It's cumbersome to open up Lightning Network portals or whatever, or Lightning Network channels. I think this is really more of cementing Bitcoin's use case more in the digital gold narrative than it is we're going to do peer-to-peer transactions and everybody's going to use Bitcoin to buy stuff off of Amazon and everyone's going to adopt Bitcoin at a global scale, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think it was actually a good thing. But yeah, I think overall, El Salvador tried and they're still going to own a bunch of Bitcoin. They're still going to buy Bitcoin, and that's good. That's a good thing. But I don't the whole Chivo app thing being sold. I don't really see that as that big of a negative for Bitcoin because I don't think it ever got mass adoption, or I don't think people were a big fan of it from a user perspective.
Rob, any thoughts?
Nah, not really. I mean, no. Got the same perspective. So.
That'll do it for the show today. We want to give a big thank you to everyone watching. If this is your first time here, you know what? We should do Bitcoin price prediction.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, go ahead, Robin. You go first.
Me?
Yeah.
Come Monday?
Come Monday.
And then chat, participate as well. If you could, we're forecasting. What do you expect the price of Bitcoin to come in at on Monday? Put it in the chat. We'll see who is the closest. We're going to do this in-house as well with Forrest as well. So I think come Monday, I'm going to say 99.2.
Okay.
$99,200.
I don't even know what it's at right now. I'm Googling. Hold on.
We'll send it over to you, Forrest. Forrest, what do you think the price of Bitcoin is going to come in at when we start our show 11 a.m. on Pacific time on Monday?
I'll say 99,201.
Oh,
A bullish weekend for you, huh? You know,
I just wanted to go $1 higher.
You know what I noticed? There's a couple times I peek over and Chase is, because Chase is running production. A couple times I peek over, I see his head down. So one day I decided to go back and get some water. This dude's trading. Did you know that?
Yeah, we're going to get some Alpha. You win in your trades over there, or what? He said no, but I know damn well you're winning trades over there.
He doesn't want to share with me. All right, Ashley, what's your
I think we're going down.
We're going down, she said. Wow.
Down. We'll go 95.2.
95.2. Okay.
Yeah.
What were you at again?
99.
I was at 99.2. Force is at 99.2 and $1.
I think we're range. I think 96.5.
96.5.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be a dull weekend. I think a lot of people are traveling, going to visit family for Christmas. By the way, our streaming schedule is gonna be a little different next week. We won't be going live Tuesday or Wednesday, as there's a lot of presents Santa's bringing that we need to open. But if you want more Sin City Crypto, today we actually are going live on Bold Broadcasting, where we talk about everything that's not crypto. So the hottest trending topics. It's going to be a lot of fun today. And you know what? If you want to hear more Ashley, she definitely talks more on that show than she does on this one. And so we put the link in the description. Come join us. Forrest, want to thank you for joining us, my friend. We appreciate you. Congrats on the new place. And we look forward to bringing you back on again next Friday, man.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. With that being said, Chase.
And then I put I pinned the link to Bold Broadcasting at the top as well. So check it out.
Chase, stop trading and roll the outro. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We appreciate all of you. Have an amazing weekend. Spend some time with your friends and family. Don't refresh your portfolios too much. It's all going to be okay. We love you guys. We'll see you on Monday.
Sin City Crypto. Everybody know we here for entertainment and info. Gonna show you how to get that big dough. So every day stay tapped in for big facts, no capping. With Bitcoin, if you're in, then you win. We divide the pie with no fraction. It's Big Rob, David. I spit the game, but they gave it. Name the coin that's your favorite. I got dry powder, why save it? To the OGs, new beginners. Special shout out to the well members. Buy a dip, sell winners. Ain't really nothing you can tell sinners. Tune in for the latest new flavors. They gonna teach us mean coins. They polarizing like barbecue chicken pizzas. I laugh with a major grin. Laggers, we trade them in. Baddies, they came to sin. And sinners gon' play to win. Screaming hola till my bags are flowing over. Hold ya to the moon and to the solar. Won't I? Don't be letting FOMO